Okay, I'm live. I'm here just to do another episode of the Authority series. One of my videos was taken down recently, and I just want to go through and see why that might be. What happened? So let's take a look at the offending video and see. Just give me one moment. And I'm going to play the video. You could just talk just a little bit about the nightmare situation from your perspective. I don't know how you feel about it. You're probably, like me, and uncooperative with the tyrants, but I'll let you talk about your perspective on that. And then we'll move on to more religious topics.
Yeah, so massive L. I wish I was on unfortunately, I did get originally not because I believed it. It was kind of a complicated reason and stuff like that. I don't have the thank goodness, but if I pass away because of I just hope that before that time happens that I can give something back to people. It was awful. I'm completely against the in its entirety. It just was a complicated endeavor almost.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about was that was the time at which I converted, actually.
Okay.
Because so a lot of people don't know this. I'm not I haven't actually been like a Catholic for too long. I've been a Catholic for about a year.
Wow.
Officially. And I would say that I wanted to almost become Catholic even a year before that. And really that started with the fact that because knocked everything down, and we weren't going outside and we weren't really distracted with kind of the pleasures of life too much anymore. I think it really allowed time for a lot of introspection, right? Because I mean, in those first few months, I remember those first 3 months, I would say, before things started to progressively kind of open back up a little bit. It was so locked down and restricted and just, not functioning that, it had such a profound effect on us really looking inward and having kind of that silence to really listen to what our heart was construed with or conflicting with or where it was going. And I think during that time, I really had a lot of time to sit down and really think about all this stuff is gone that I cared about. I got distracted by and going to these parties and stuff like that. What do I do now? And what really is the measure of life? Because I think that, people who are kind of agnostic or a-religious, they suffered a lot during because it was this world, for all intents and purposes, is all that they have, right? So when everything got knocked down for them, it was shoot, well, I guess we're just gonna suffer, there wasn't this level of comfort to it. But in a sense, I think for people like me, it was like Job. It really was like Job being stripped away of all the things that he had and all his comforts and all his possessions and stuff like that, and just saying all that's left is the spirit, and I want to give my spirit over to God. Father, receive my spirit. And that's really, I think, how it affected me. In terms of my state, the restrictions were not as bad as it was in other parts of the country. Oh my goodness, Canada, you guys
And I'm in Quebec. Quebec is the worst of the worst.
Oh my goodness, dude. And Quebec, how it went from being so awesomely Catholic back in the day to then just being literally the most liberal place in the world and seemingly all of Canada. It's that is such a fall from grace. So I for all intents and purposes, you experienced the worse than I did. In fact, I remember basically the red county that I live in and I have grown up in, as soon as they realized everything was a bunch of bull, they were like, dude, we're not like wearing these and stuff like that. We're just going to go like hang out. And I got to the point where I was like, I'm not honestly scared of this anymore. And when I got, everyone was like freaking out and they're like, dude, you got, how do you feel? And I was like, thank goodness I did. Oh my goodness. This was such a like overblown thing. It was like the flu. And actually, as you know, David, we had to reschedule because like last week I got it again. And I'm just coming off of the slump, and it was a little worse this time. But like even then, I'm like, dude, like it's not that bad, man. You know, it really goes to show you that like the elites that wanted to lock everything down and shut everything down, they had other purposes. You know, this was not a public health scare or nightmare. It was just that they wanted to use this to affect what they could have with like more time and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I read Klaus Schwab's book. I didn't complete it because it's drivel, but he says it's the least deadly pandemic in 2,000 years, but it's a good opportunity to implement all these forward-thinking things for the climate change and all these sorts of things. So, you know, they know that it's just opportunism, and they know that it's a lot of smoke and mirrors using fear to control people. And I'm apolitical. I've been apolitical my whole life. I'm just a Catholic now that I'm, you know, now that I'm religious. That gives me my center and my standard of truth and goodness, and it gives me my principles. It gives me everything. But prior to that, you know, I was an atheist, and just sort of my principle at that point was the principles of Satanism: "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." And my will be done. And this is a very simple. It's a very simple way of life. And you know, you also know as a Satanist that there are consequences to your actions, and that there are other beings, ostensibly other beings, that have their own will, and it could be a battle of the wills. You have to pick your battles and these sorts of things. But I think it is the most popular religion in the world is Satanism, because it's not explicitly referred to as Satanism, but a lot of Christians you see in the pews, even at a Catholic church, are in love with their religion, which is my will be done. And, you know, I'll give some lip service to God also. Why not, right? I mean, it's part of my culture. It's part of my family tradition. And yes, I'll go and I'll bend the knee to Christ. But ultimately, it's my will, not God's will. And I'm wearing my St. Augustine shirt. He's one of my favorite saints. I don't know if you can see it.
Let's go.
But he says in the city of God, there are two cities characterized by two loves: love of self unto contempt of God, or love of God unto contempt of self. Those are the two world religions. And all the little labels and this and that are really distractions from those ultimate fundamental options, right?
They are. And the fathers talk about how everything that is not the worship of God in his church is the worship of Satan. And that's completely true. You know, every schism, every heresy, every false religion, it's the worship of Satan at the end of the day.
Yes, so let's go through and look. I mean, that seemed pretty harmless to me by my standards. We're just talking about how evil this sick fallen world is, and how Satan runs the world, and how corrupt governments are. And I think this is well understood. I didn't invent this concept of the fall, right? So let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit here on the medical misinformation policy over at YouTube. I haven't read this. My bad. I haven't read it. I should have read it, I guess. COVID-19 medical misinformation policy. The safety of our creators, viewers, and partners is our highest priority. We look to each of you to help us protect this unique and vibrant community. It's important you understand our community guidelines and the role they play in our shared responsibility to keep YouTube safe. Take the time, that's what I'm doing, take the time to read carefully, read the policy below. You can also check out this page for a full list of our guidelines. So the document begins. YouTube doesn't allow content about COVID-19 that poses a serious risk of egregious harm. So that little 7.5 segment that you just saw of my interview with Pinesap, YouTube and or Google have decided that that talk, that 7.5 minute segment, poses a serious risk of egregious harm. Now, I've beeped out all of the keywords so that I don't get flagged again, because you know, I don't want to provoke them. So I beeped out every offensive word, all the words that would offend them. I beeped them out. And so it's self-censorship now that they've got me doing. The document goes on to say, YouTube doesn't allow content that spreads medical misinformation that contradicts local health authorities, LHA, or the World Health Organization's, WHO, medical information about COVID-19. This is limited to content that contradicts WHO or local health authorities' guidance on treatment, prevention, diagnosis, transmission, and the existence of COVID-19. Note, YouTube's policies on COVID-19 are subject to change in response to changes in global or local health authorities' guidance on the virus. Yeah, it's a shifting goalpost all the time. There may be a delay between the new LHA/WHO guidance and policy updates, given the frequency with which this guidance changes. Bingo. And our policies may not cover all LHA/WHO guidance related to COVID-19. Our COVID-19 policies were first published on May 20th, 2020. What this policy means for you: if you're posting content, don't post content on YouTube if it includes any of the following. And we've got some different categories. The first category is treatment misinformation. So let's see if I violated any of these with my little 7-minute segment with Pinesap. Content that encourages the use of home remedies. Nope, I didn't do that. Prayer. No, I didn't even suggest prayer as a remedy for COVID. Or rituals, like the sacraments, in place of medical treatment, such as consulting a doctor or going to the hospital. So I didn't do that. 100% innocent. Did not do any of that. Second point, content that claims there's a guaranteed cure for COVID-19. Nope, I didn't do that. Third point, content that recommends use of ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine for the treatment of COVID-19. Didn't do that. Next point, claims that hydroxychloroquine is an effective treatment for COVID-19. Didn't do that. Next point, categorical claims that ivermectin is an effective treatment for COVID-19. Didn't do that. Claims that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are safe to use in the prevention of COVID-19. Didn't do that. Final point, other content that discourages people from consulting a medical professional or seeking medical advice. Didn't do that. Next heading, prevention misinformation. Content that promotes prevention methods that contradict local health authorities or the WHO. First point, claims that there is a guaranteed prevention method for COVID-19. No, we didn't do that. Next point, claims that any medication or vaccination is a guaranteed prevention method for COVID-19. Nope, didn't do that either. Next point, content that recommends use of ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine for the prevention of COVID-19. Nope, didn't do that. Claims that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are safe to use in the prevention of COVID-19. Nope, didn't do that. Claims about COVID-19 vaccinations that contradict expert consensus from local health authorities or WHO. And the subheadings for this are number one, claims that an approved COVID-19 vaccine will cause death, infertility, miscarriage, autism, or contraction of other infectious diseases. I don't know if they construed Pinesap, who got the beep. Pinesap got the beep, and he may have insinuated that there were some, that it wasn't completely safe and effective. I don't know. That might be a possibility. Second bullet point, claims that an approved COVID-19 vaccine will contain substances that are not in the vaccine ingredient list, such as biological matter from fetuses or animal products. No, we didn't do that. Claims that an approved COVID-19 vaccine will contain substances or devices meant to track or identify those who received it. No, we didn't say that. Claims that COVID-19 vaccines will make people who receive them magnetic. No, we didn't say that. Claims that an approved COVID-19 vaccine will alter a person's genetic makeup. No, we didn't say that. Claims that a COVID-19 vaccines do not reduce risk of serious illness or death. No, we didn't say that. Claims that any vaccine causes contraction of COVID-19. No, we didn't say that. Claims that a specific population will be required to take part in vaccine trials or receive the vaccine first. No, we didn't say that. Content that promotes the use of unapproved or homemade COVID-19 vaccines. No, we didn't do that. Instructions to counterfeit vaccine certificates or offers of sale for such documents. No, we didn't do that. So the only one that I think might be possibly here under this umbrella of claims about COVID-19 vaccinations that contradict expert consensus from local health authorities or WHO is the very first subpoint, claims that an approved COVID-19 vaccine will cause death, infertility, miscarriage, autism, or contraction of other infectious diseases. Maybe something he said when he said, if I drop dead or whatever. So maybe he was... Pinesap may have been alluding to the possibility that he might have had a severe allergic reaction to it at some point in the midterm or long term, I guess. I don't know. I can't read his mind. I can ask him. But it doesn't really seem to merit having the video pulled, right? You could take an aspirin and say, oh my God, I hope this aspirin doesn't kill me, because there are people that die from taking aspirin, right? So if I take an aspirin, I'm like, oh, I regret taking the aspirin because some people die from taking aspirin. Okay, well, we can admit that it's rare for someone to drop dead after taking an aspirin, and it's probably pretty rare statistically for someone to drop dead right after taking the vaccine, right? So what's the big deal? But I think that's where the yellow flag may have come from. But why'd they pull the video? Let's keep going, see if there's anything a little bit more damning. The next heading is diagnostic misinformation. Content that promotes diagnostic information that contradicts local health authorities or the WHO. First point, claims that approved COVID-19 tests are dangerous or cause negative physical health effects. No, we didn't talk about that. Claims that approved COVID-19 tests cannot diagnose COVID-19. We did not talk about that. Next heading, transmission misinformation. Content that promotes transmission information that contradicts local health authorities or the WHO. First point, content that claims that COVID-19 is not caused by a viral infection. We did not say that. Content that claims COVID-19 is not contagious. We did not say that. Content that claims that COVID-19 cannot spread in certain climates or geographies. We did not say that. Content that claims that any group or individual has immunity to the virus or cannot transmit the virus. We did not say that. The next heading, content that denies the existence of COVID-19. First point, denial that COVID-19 exists. We did not say that. Claims that people have not died or gotten sick from COVID-19. We did not say that. Claims that the death rate of COVID-19 is equal to or less than that of the common cold or seasonal flu. We did not say that. Pinesap may have alluded to the fact that the beep is just, to him, in his case, felt just like the beep. Okay, he may have said that. It's not the same thing as claiming that the death rate is equal. We did not say that. Claims that the COVID-19 is equal to or less transmissible than the common cold or seasonal flu. We did not say that. Claims that the symptoms of COVID-19 are never severe. We did not say that. Now, Pinesap may have implied that because he had it twice, even though he's beeped. And he said it wasn't a big deal. But he didn't say it's never a big deal. He didn't say it's never severe. He didn't say that. He said it was more severe the second time than the first time. This policy applies to videos, video descriptions, comments, live streams, and any other YouTube product or feature. Keep in mind that it isn't a complete list. Please note these policies also apply to external links in your content. This can include clickable URLs, verbally directing users to other sites in video, as well as other forms. Examples. Here are some examples of content that's not allowed on YouTube. Denial that COVID-19 exists. Claims that people have not died from COVID-19. Claims that any vaccine is a guaranteed prevention method for COVID-19. Claims that a specific treatment of medicine is guaranteed cure for COVID-19. Claims that hydroxychloroquine saves people from COVID-19. Promotion of MMS, Miracle Mineral Solution, for the treatment of COVID-19. Claims that certain people have immunity to COVID-19 due to their race or nationality. Encouraging taking of home remedies instead of getting medical treatment when sick. Discouraging people from consulting a medical professional if they're sick. Content that claims that holding your breath can be used as a diagnostic test for COVID-19. Videos alleging that if you avoid Asian food, you won't get the coronavirus. Videos alleging that setting off fireworks can clean the air of the virus and will prevent the spread of the virus. Claims that COVID-19 is caused by radiation from 5G networks. Videos alleging that the COVID-19 test is the cause of the virus. Claims that countries with hot climates will not experience the spread of the virus. Claims that COVID-19 vaccines kill people who receive them. Claims that COVID-19 vaccines are a means of population reduction. Videos claiming that COVID-19 vaccines contain fetal tissue. Claims that the flu vaccine causes contraction of COVID-19. Claims that the flu is more contagious than COVID-19. Claims that COVID-19 vaccines cause contraction of other infectious diseases or makes people more vulnerable to contraction of other infectious diseases. Just have a drink of water here. Next point, claims that COVID-19 vaccines contain a microchip or tracking device. Claims that achieving herd immunity through natural infection is safer than vaccinating the population. Claims that COVID-19 never causes serious symptoms or hospitalization. Claims that the death rate from the seasonal flu is higher than the death rate of COVID-19. Claims that people are immune to the virus based on their race. Claims that children cannot or do not contract COVID-19. Claims that there have not been cases or deaths in countries where cases or deaths have been confirmed by local health authorities or the WHO. Educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic content. We may allow content that violates the misinformation policies noted on this page if that content includes additional context in the video, audio, title, or description. This is not a pass to promote misinformation. Additional context may include countervailing views from local health authorities or medical experts. We may also make exceptions if the purpose of the content is to condemn, dispute, or satirize misinformation that violates our policies. We may also make exceptions for content showing an open public forum like a protest or public hearing, provided the content does not aim to promote misinformation that violates our policies. What happens if content violates this policy? If your content violates this policy, we'll remove the content and send you an email to let you know. If this is your first time violating our community guidelines, you'll likely get a warning with no penalty to your channel. That's what I got. If it's not, we may issue a strike against your channel. If you got 3 strikes within 3 days, your channel will be terminated. You can learn more about our strike system here. We may terminate your channel or account for repeated violations of the community guidelines or terms of service. We may also terminate your channel or account after a single case of severe abuse or when the channel is dedicated to a policy violation. You can learn more about channel or account terminations here. My channel is about Christ and his church. It's not about COVID. It's not about the evil demons and the baby killers who run planet Earth ever since the fall in the Garden of Eden. Okay, it's not about the demons. It's not about the evil people that are ensnared by Satan. Hopefully temporarily. Hopefully they'll snap out of it. They'll wake up and they'll find Christ and they'll join the church and they'll be saved. Okay, but my channel is not about the evil demonic baby killers who run this planet. It's not. It's about Jesus Christ and his church. And everyone is invited in to the church. Everyone's invited in. It's an open invitation. And so I really struggle to see how my video was pulled. Why was it removed? What did I say? What did Pinesap say? Now that we've read through this, let's just give a quick run through, because the only flag we're looking for here, the only one that's remotely possible, The only strike that's remotely possible is this one here. Claims that an approved COVID-19 vaccine will cause death, infertility, miscarriage, autism, or contraction of other infectious diseases. Claims that the vaccine will cause death. Let's go back now and listen to what Pinesap said. You could just talk just a
say that that was the term almost in its entirety. It just was a complicated endeavor almost.
Yeah.
But if I pass away because
there
of
it is.
stuff like that, I don't have the thank goodness. But if I pass away because of the I just hope that before that time happens that I can give something back to people and stuff like that. I don't have the thank goodness, but if I pass away because of the I just hope that before that time happens that I can give something back to people.
Okay, so if I pass away because of the beep, I hope I can help inform people before that time, before that occurs. So it's a conditional statement. He's not saying he will die because of the beep. He's saying if he does die because of the beep, and there's a non-zero chance of that, everyone has to admit there's a non-zero chance of that. Like, someone could eat peanut butter for the first time and say, I hope I don't die because of the peanut butter that I ate. But if I do die because of the peanut butter that I ate, I want to make sure that I warn people that there's a non-zero chance of dying from eating peanut butter. And that does happen. Look at the statistics. Just for fun, let's look it up right now. Peanut allergy deaths per year. I see 187 deaths since 1992. So that's pretty rare, but it's non-zero, right? So someone never had peanut butter before, and they're like, oh, I regret taking the government mandated peanut butter injection, but I wanted to feed my family, so I took it, and I regret it. And if by some rare, unlikely chance I die from the peanut butter because I have an allergy to it, then I just want to warn everyone that your consent has to be free and it has to be informed. So he didn't use that terminology, but that's what the terminology the local health authorities and the World Health Organization use, that you have to give free consent. It has to be informed consent. That's what the World Health Organization says. Okay. So let me see if I can find, actually. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to find something. Found it. Let me make myself bigger. Vaccination, A Catholic Perspective by Pamela Acker or Aker, MS. (2020) by the Colby Center for the Study of Creation. Okay. Imprimatur. It's got the imprimatur. I'm a Catholic. Okay? I'm Catholic. And here's a Catholic book talking to me about vaccination. It's got the approval of the bishop. That particular bishop of the Soroti Catholic Diocese. Okay? There is a hierarchy, chain of command of authority in the church, and I submit to the authority. Now I'm going to read this to you. A Catholic perspective on vaccination. Any preventive, diagnostic, and therapeutic medical intervention is only to be carried out with the prior, free, and informed consent of the person concerned, based on adequate information. The consent should, where appropriate, be express and may be withdrawn by the person concerned at any time and for any reason without disadvantage or prejudice. Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights. And if you want to see the footnote, it's United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights, 19th of October, 2005. There's the link. portal.unesco.org/en for English /ev.php. And it continues from there. Okay. This is a Catholic book with the imprimatur. And guess what? We got to have informed consent, and it has to be free. It has to be prior consent. It has to be free. It has to be informed. So I did nothing wrong interviewing Pinesap. Pinesap did nothing wrong. He got the beep. Okay, I did not get the beep. See? I did not get the beep. No beep, beep needed. I have a beep, beep. Right? No beep, beep needed. I have a beep, beep. I can't say it any more clearly than that, or I'll violate the terms and conditions of YouTube. But we need to give free and informed consent. This is basic stuff, people. Basic stuff. Can you die from getting the COVID-19 approved vaccines? Yes, you can. Just like you can die from eating peanut butter. I'm not claiming to know what the relative dangers are. I'm not claiming to know. I'm not claiming. I haven't done a study. I don't know what percentage of people can die, do die, will die, or have died. I don't know. I just know that it's definitely non-zero, but that's not my argument against the vaccine. My argument against the vaccine is I have to give free consent. I have to give free consent. My consent has to be free. It has to be informed. That's my argument. The fact that it can kill you is completely beside the point. I'm not claiming to know how deadly it is. I'm not claiming to know that. I'm not telling anyone how deadly the approved vaccines are. I'm not telling anyone because I don't know. And I don't care. I don't care how deadly they are or how safe they are. If they're 100% safe and effective, my answer is still no thank you, because I have to give informed consent. And not only that, it has to be freely given consent. You can't threaten to starve me to death by taking away my livelihood or anything else. You can't use coercion. You can't. And when I say you, I mean the demonic baby killers who run this world. I'm not saying that every politician, every doctor, every nurse, every administrator or whatever is a demonic baby killer. I'm just talking about the people who hate Christ and his church, who are in positions of power. I'm not identifying them because I don't know who they are. I don't know how many there are, and all I know is it's a non-zero number. I know that it is less than 100% of humans on Earth since the beginning of time, a few thousand years ago, 8,000 years ago, whenever the creation started. I know it's a non-zero percentage of humans. It's less than 100% of humans that are 100% faithful to Christ and his church. It's less than 100%. That means there's a small percentage or a big percentage or a medium percentage. There's some non-zero percentage of people who are on the other team. like I said to Pinesap, and Pinesap agreed with me. There are two cities, as St. Augustine famously said, there are two cities characterized by two loves. That's it. There are two camps. There's the love of self unto contempt of God. Those are the Satanists. And there's the love of God unto contempt of self. Those are the Christians, the Catholics, the city of God. If you haven't read The City of God, go and get yourself a copy and read it. I see Maria, I'm giving a shout out to Maria here in the live chat. And Maria says, I need to reread The City of God. Yes, by all means. It's a very entertaining book. There's a lot in there. It's not all infallible teachings. There's a lot of interesting speculation, and it's very entertaining. Some of it may make you cringe. Some of it you may scratch your head and wonder where it's coming from. But for the most part, it's full of edifying and inspirational stuff. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I just wanted to make it very, very clear that there was no justification for pulling my video. There was nothing. There's no aggressive campaign to malign, the beep or the beep. And it's just a personal testimony. Someone who took the beep, regretted taking the beep, hinted at the fact that the beep might be deadly, because it is in some cases. What percentage? He didn't say, and I didn't say. But that doesn't merit having the video removed. So we're going to see what happens in the future. I hope that it's a one-time thing. I don't know if someone flagged the video, maybe an enemy of the channel flagged the video. That's possible. But hopefully it won't happen again. But there are plenty of other fish in the sea. There are other platforms. So it is what it is. So that's it. Take good care. We'll talk very soon. God bless.